Welcome back to the HerbRally Podcast. Today, I'm excited to have on once again Molly Meehan Brown. Welcome to the show, Molly.
Thank you so very much, Mason. I am honored to be here.
Yeah. Smoking herbal blends. We need some Mullen and some Kush, my brethren. While listening to HerbRally Podcast again. Herbalism at its finest with Mason Hutchinson. Yeah.
We're going to talk a little bit about your new book. Actually, we're going to talk a lot about your new book, Herbal Activities for Kids, which I had the honor of participating in. Me and my family, we actually have a couple recipes in here, which was a super fun project to participate in. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your book?
Perfect. Thanks. Yes. And thank you for you and your family being a part. Like that's one of the most special parts about this book is really about the relationship building and the community building around herbs and kids and just sort of bringing that intergenerational piece of herbalism to life. So this is a project that was born many, many years ago when Story actually reached out because we've been doing like herb camps for kids and things on our farm in Southern Maryland. And so from there, the seed was sort of planted, and it took several years for this to actually come into fruition, and several years and like a pandemic and a few babies and all the things that sort of transpired
Seriously.
from like when we started to when we actually got this thing out into the world. And so yeah, it's this sort of love letter to the next generation of the kids. I think I remember when I first sat in herb school, how many people were like, I wish I had had this knowledge from when I was growing up or from when I was a kid. And so yeah, I think it's just a hope of sort of beginning, kids in relationship, building those relationships with plants from a young age. And so that's a little bit about sort of the inspiration for the book, Herbal Activities for Kids. It's definitely meant to be, you know, fun and sort of a starting point, sort of planting seeds for kids that then they can use their imaginations to kind of bring to life with whatever herbs that are around them in their different bioregions or what they've got access to in their kitchens. So yeah, that's a little bit about it.
Cool. How many contributors did you have?
We have a couple dozen. So we have there's 50 total activities in the
Wow.
book. And then we have a couple of dozen folks that I have had the chance to work with over the years. And you are one of them. But many of my absolute very favorite people that I'm just so honored to be able to sort of, are all part of like different branches on this herbal tree, right? And so it's been so
That's right.
fun, as part of this book is to be able to do it in community, especially to sort of lift up, the different folks' works alongside, the actual activities of this book are the folks that joined us and poured into creating these really beautiful activities. So yeah.
Yeah, so the recipes we provided was how to make sprouts, how to make like alfalfa sprouts, and then we also did like a herbal chocolate recipe. What other fun activities are in there? I know there's some other culinary creations you could get down on, but just for instance, as I'm flipping it open, I see Nature Mandala by Arvelyn Hill. What other outside of like say the culinary realm? What are some other fun activities for kids in here?
I mean, there's so many, and I think one of the things that I was just re-looking at the book the other day, and I was like, God, one of the things that I love about it is that it really sort of is a portal into each person's work as well. So we have Zenobia from who does like a whole recipe. She teaches a lot of her traditional recipes
Hmm.
from her native Trinidad. And so it's a fun activity for folks to be able to incorporate herbs, but also learn about a culture, about the sort of lineage and tradition around incorporating herbs in food. There's herbal drying herbs
Hmm.
with Tony Roberts. There's weaving with Io Ngozi. I'm just trying to think. There's so many really beautiful activities. The leaf paper with Io, which is
Hmm.
super special, and it's like magic alchemy. But done in really sort of I feel like accessible ways. With tools that you'd have around the house, and then you've got like the Mugwort Dream Portal with Eileen, which really kind of goes deeper. Like it sort of opens up into to folks' lineages and just sort of the many ways that there are to be a plant person. There's not like just one way to do this work. So some folks are, clinicians. We're doing sprouts, we're doing, beautiful herbal chocolates. We're doing, pressed flower papers with Tony Roberts, all the different ways. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have to imagine with 50 activities, you're going to keep these kiddos busy. Have you heard any feedback from kids that have done a lot of the different activities thus far?
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is this was happening real time, I think, for a lot of us. When we actually got to put this in motion was sort of during the opportunity of the pause that we had during the
Right.
pandemic. Like finally when we did this. So like, I mean, I know you were doing this alongside your daughter, your activities.
That's right.
The activities that I did in real time were with our kids. It's like we had this, we had to do something with our days, right?
For sure.
And I mean, all of it. So, like, all of these activities, for the most part, were done alongside and created with kids. And that was one of the things that I loved about this book because really it was such like an active process of joy and of creation alongside kids. So I know my kids had so much fun and we still like to go back and just,
That's
we're
cool.
looking for something to do in the day, revisit it. And yeah, and it's been also really beautiful now because it's been out for a little while, like people putting reviews in. And I love to see
Fun.
like folks that are like grandparents that are doing this alongside their grandkids and different things like that. And I'm like, that's what's up,
Yeah.
bringing these intergenerational relationships to life. Yeah, so it's cool to see how it's now sort of in motion.
There's something about the tangibility of a book too, as opposed to say reading on the internet. I know you have a lot of great resources on your website as well, but it is always nice just to be able to go to your bookshelf and check out some random activity to try out or whatnot. Just because it's coming to mind, do you think you'll end up having a volume two of this herbal activities for kids at some
Hey,
point?
let's plant the seed with story. I would love to. I
That's cool.
100% agree with you that there is something to having this real live book in your hands. And that's also the beauty of what it means to be in community, because I think so many different people came together in different ways to actually make this happen, right? And so what Story, our publisher is amazing at is bringing this whole, idea into life, right? And then
Yeah.
they're all the herbalists and the creatives and the artists, like we all did our thing. And so there was just so many people that did their thing along the way. And I mean, it's a trip to see it. It's like a dream come true. Maybe not even a dream that I consciously had, but you're like, wow, what a beautiful honor to be
Yeah.
able to have brought this into the world alongside with so many amazing folks. So yeah, let's
What do
go
you?
for volume two, Nathan. I love
Amen. Maybe a volume three,
Yeah,
four.
I mean, let's do it.
Why not? Actually, this might be a good time for you to talk about your kids herb course as well. I want to say it was kind of done in conjunction with this beautiful online community you've created. Why don't you tell us a bit about kids herbs, if I'm getting that right?
Thanks. No, it's kidsherbalism.com. And that
That's right.
actually was really funny because that is an online sort of global village. We do weekly classes with youth on all things herbal and cooking and developing those relationships with nature. And we have, this began also before we actually really got going formally with the book. And we started this during the pandemic. Many people were at home, sort of like, what are we going to do with our kids, et cetera, and looking for inspiration. And so we just started this again with the network and the community that we have. And so we have people literally from all over the world that have contributed these classes that are, done online. Kids can access them. We have printables, that go alongside each activity that folks can access. And a lot of that work actually helped us along the way to get to where we are with this book, sort of setting in motion what it looked like to sort of bring it all together. So yes, kidsherbalism.com is another really beautiful labor of love and also done in community with a lot of people that care very, very much about this work. And also, I think, we always weave together, all the ways there are to be in relationship with plants, or there are to be a plant person or an
Yeah.
herbalist, right? Like we can all find our path and what means the most to us. So yeah.
Yeah, you've brought up a couple points there, and you seem very enthusiastic about teaching children about herbalism. And when I interview people and say, "What's your best herbal business advice?" a lot of times I want to say, folks will say, find your niche in the herbal community. Would you say kids herbalism is kind of becoming your niche? And if so, or regardless of that, why is it so important for you to teach children herbalism?
That's an interesting question. I do a lot of work with business stuff with herbalists and birth folks as
Oh yeah,
well. I don't know necessarily that I think my niche is relationship and where
Hmm.
people and plants come together. That is where my heart is and has been for decades. And then, Mason, I am a Gemini and I'm a little bee that goes from like this flower to this flower. So I think as
Sure.
my life continues to evolve and I live through different seasons, I will likely continue to learn and evolve and explore different ways of being creative with this work. That's always been the running theme is like people and plants. I think also because I'm in this season of life of like rearing kids,
Yeah.
it's like very much alive for me. And also I've got like a sense of like this is kind of work or like this is not, kind of a thing. But
Sure.
it's something I do care deeply about. And I think it very much, centers around that relationship building. And I think another thing that's really come alive for me too is like how plants are such amazing teachers to us. And I feel like they're always a place I come back to for hope.
Yeah.
Um, when sometimes it's hard to have hope. And so where more important than to have these teachings than when we're kids, and then we have these tools and these relationships built as we go on. So I don't know if that sounds really abstract, but it's sort of like where I am, like what's alive for me right now.
It makes so much sense. I love that. Yeah, wherever you're kind of at in your life journey, you're getting super enthusiastic about that, and then it kind of trickles down into your herbal career. And by the way, you mentioned your mentorship for herbal business and teaching folks how to have herbal businesses. Do you want to plug that website as well?
We can, and I wasn't even intentionally trying to do
Oh,
it.
I know.
I mean, I think niche is really important, and I,
I
I
love that
talk
you do
about that
that.
with our students as well. I mean, that really was born out of, Mason, we've been Wild Ginger for almost 15 years now,
Yeah.
and we've always done herbal training, mostly with adults, and then birth work training. So, like, we've
Hmm.
done a doula work in partnership with other folks. So, centered around herbs and birth. And one of the things that I see are like all these folks have, and this is not just, just specific to Wild Ginger, but like so many people have such amazing knowledge, but then don't have the sort of skills to hold their life's work and to sustain this work long term. And so, also so many of us are small businesses and we have to learn the skills to sort of, wear a lot of hats and hold this in addition to just doing the work we want to do as herbalists and birth keepers. And so, yeah, we have an herbalist and birth keeper business incubator. It's a beautiful community of folks working together and learning, some of the business skills to be able to sort of do this DIY. It's definitely meant and centered around like small scale business, and it covers a lot of different things. We have, training sessions that are pre-recorded and sort of you can go through slowly, but also we have monthly meetups. We have new trainings with different folks that are in the herbal and birth industries that are talking about their experiences running businesses as apothecaries and what does that look with like GMPs or folks that are like, we've had people that are bookkeepers and talking about like bookkeeping and accounting, all the or tax, all the different facets of business. So we have, we kind of keep it fresh and live with different people from our community sharing, business and, trainings as well. So that's a little bit about it. And kind of sort of where the spirit of that came from is like, I don't want to lose these folks that have this knowledge that I feel like is so needed.
Yeah.
If we can just learn the skills in order to be able to do this, right? We don't want people to just like fall out as herbalists and birth keepers because they don't know how to sustain their business. It's
Mm.
it's tough, like, and that's real. And I think we probably all know people that have struggled in that. And so how do we like support each other in building those skills? Because there's so many abundant resources for learning about herbs, learning about birth, work and doulas and all the certifications. But like, how do we back that up with the sort of like the structure to hold it?
Preach. I have to have you back on the show just to talk purely about this subject because it's just out of selfish reasons right now. I kind of I want to get your take on this. Amanda's basically enforcing me to take days off during the week, and looking back, I don't know if I had a day off in the past like 3 or 4 months. Maybe that's exaggerating, maybe not. But I'm taking a day off tomorrow, and I'm so excited for it. And and I'm just kind of curious, what's your take on say rest period? Do you guys talk about that in your herbal business course?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the things that I say from the beginning, especially for people that are starting out, and it's hard when you're in it, right? Because this
Yeah.
is not like a 9 to 5 where you can just like shut your
Right.
computer and there's always something in motion.
Right.
But one of the first, and I love to like zoom out and begin from an aerial view, which is hard to do because you're already like in it, right, Mason?
Totally.
In the beginning, when we're working with folks that maybe are just starting out or even like reimagining and re-envisioning, right? Because like the imagination is, I think, one of the most important skills we can have is like, how do we actually design our business to be like with the life that we actually want to live? Like we
Yeah.
can structure it that way. So like if I want to be location independent, or if I want to be in a brick and mortar, if I want to I always want these times that I need to go pick my kids up from school or whatever it is, like write your life out first and then design your business around that. So
Nice.
that's sort of like more aerial view, but it does help to like, I'll look through my year and be like, I know that on a personal level, I have this coming up. So I'm not going to structure any launches coming out at that time or any things that I need to deeply tend. You know what I'm saying? I'll
Right.
keep it light, these kinds of ways. But it's hard to step away. But it's also one of the most glorious things about working for yourself is being able to have freedom in the way that it means to you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come without rigor or needing to tend it, right? Like a business is like a garden, and what you sort of put into it and the care that you give it, just like anything, it needs nourishment, is what's going to come out.
Mm.
And you gotta like give that same nourishment to you, your personal life, your relationships that are outside your business. So it's a hard balance. I'm not, a perfect at it myself for sure. It's tough, but yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned the relationships. I mean, if you're working every day, it's going to be awfully hard to build relationships with your children, your spouse, so on and so
Right.
forth. So it's absolutely crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't know we were going to go down that route, but I'm glad we did. It's very top of mind for me right now. So like I said, we definitely got to have you back on for a full hour talking about herbal business stuff. In the meantime, anything else you'd like to tell the audience about the Herbal Activities for Kids book?
I mean, I hope that they try it out. It's such
Oh,
a
you got your copy
beautiful,
too.
I do have my copy right here. And it's such a beautiful, like they did such a great job of the art, like, with
Yeah.
this collage of everyone's projects. It's just a really special offering. And I love that it's such an affordable way to enter in, to learning about herbs. And I think one of the beautiful things, in addition to the activities, Mason, is like it has a lot of the sort of context that we would want kids to start learning too. So like it has them learning about wildcrafting and how to be in a relationship with the plants of
Mm.
reciprocity and the land. In reciprocity, now we're not just kind of like taking. There's safety tips,
Yeah.
there's processes, the whole book is learning through our senses. So I
Mm.
think that's such a wonderful way, not only for kids, but also for adults to learn. So there's so much more to this book than just the activities, which I think really bring this alive. But there's a lot of really beautiful parts that are woven through that I think are really meaningful as well, and sort of hold it all together. And it's just a super special offering. It's really truly an honor of a lifetime, not only have had the chance to do this, but also to have the chance to do this with folks that I love so much and deeply respect. And that's one other thing that's so special with all the folks that we got to work with on this project. Story was so lovely. Like we have a whole section in the back that centers around all of our community of contributors and
Mm.
talks about everybody's really amazing
That's
work
cool.
in the herbal world. And so the whole back section is all about like a community sort of constellation that we're weaving together, learning about the contributors' work. And there's also like resources about how kids can build community around herbalism, like hosting herbal potlucks or
Fun.
even herbal mutual aid. Like think about like what's happening in Asheville right now. Like maybe a kid's not necessarily learning away, but kids tend to they cut through it. We get to get real complicated as adults, but kids' imaginations are the best and they always have such good, clear ideas. So anyways, there's lots of really community and relationship oriented pieces to the book that's really, really makes it super unique and special. And I'm very, very thankful.
I love that you mentioned that. And it just comes to mind, some of these herbal books out there that are written, you almost want to say that they were just copy pasted from various blog posts they read. So it's like on down the pipeline, and it's not actually written by real herbalists, but you could tell this book is definitely written by real herbalists from the community, because you're talking about sustainability, you're talking about helping others, you're talking about building community, etc. And I just absolutely love that. It's a very holistic approach to learning about herbs. I was just interviewing Brigitte Mars, and this comes to mind for whatever reason. She was talking about how kids and even adults recognize, I want to say, like, say 500 logos, and they can't identify, like, say, one plant. You know what I mean? And so is that part of your mission, is for kids to help after they read this book? Are they going to start being able to develop relationships with these plants and actually start to learn and identify these different plants that is growing around them?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's definitely more relationship building centered than it is like plant ID focused. Sure. I really wanted this book to be a place where any kid from any bioregion can sort of jump off from. So while there are specific plants to certain areas mentioned, a lot of them can also be supplemented with analogs from wherever you are locally. So I wanted it to be open. And funny side note, this is definitely written by herbalists. So one of the biggest lifts as far as edits was all of the herbalists, we put our recipes in terms of parts.
Yeah.
Editors were like, no, this does not work. It has to be ounces or this, that. So it's so funny because it's like, yep, that's it. That's all herbalists. That's how we think. Anyways, that might not make sense to everybody, but it makes sense to all the herbalists. So I had to go through 100%. Translating anything and ask everyone like a million questions. Anyways, yeah. And so absolutely, it's, there's beautiful things. There's tea tastings in the book where let's just slow down and not even worry about what is the name of this plant, but what does this taste like in my body? Where do I feel this plant in my body? Does it feel like it's going upward, downward, outward? Do I feel calm? Do I feel activated? Literally helping kids to, it doesn't matter, yes, this is a book, but like learn from your experience with the plant, develop your relationship with the plant. As we know, as people, and we actually talk about energetics in the book really, really generally, but like different herbs have different energetics and our bodies have different energetics. So how does that look for me versus for you, Mason, and that's different. So bringing this experience into our bodies, the plants are our best teachers, and listening to our bodies is so valuable. And so trying to kind of build those tools and plant those seeds, versus, just this herb is for that, this herb is for that kind of stuff. Like you say, that shows up in herbals, and not knocking it. Like I've read them and there's lots of amazing information, but trying to ask deeper questions and really build those personal relationships with plants is such a skill, one that I, am still developing, we're all going to be doing for the rest of our lives. Right? So yeah, that's, I would say, probably a theme of the extra kinds of pieces that are weaving this together. Yeah.
I love it. I guess last question is, do your kids think you're cool? And do they like this kind of herbal stuff? Are they becoming little mini herbalists?
That's really funny. I will have to get back to you as far as if they think I'm cool. But yeah, I mean, they love this. They call this their book.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was like they go to this outdoor sort of forest school kind of thing, and like they were like, they brought it to their teachers and they're like, hey, here's our book. And there's
That's so
like
cool.
Exactly. It was really cool. And then their teachers use some of the activities in this. And that's the other thing that's really cool about this book. It's like, yes, at the home level, but also different, schools, homeschool co-ops, people are donating copies to the libraries. Like there's so many really sweet parts about this, and community organizations. But I think my kids absolutely love this. Like I think from a very young age, they've been doing this stuff alongside me. And therefore I'm like, oh yes, I have created the situation where there's a lot of expectation. Mom, I want to do it. Mom, I want to do a project. Mom, I want to do a project. So it's a lot, and it's awesome. Like I would I couldn't ask for more for my kids than wanting to be creative, wanting to ask questions, wanting to be engaged with life and everything that's around them. So I think they absolutely love it. I don't think it's a forced thing. They do call themselves herbalists.
That's so cool.
For sure. And, they're artists and surfers and they're all the things. Like they're just exploring life. So yeah.
They're surfers. They're a lot cooler than I am. That's awesome.
Me too. They're cooler than me. Their dad teaches them. That's not me. That's his thing.
Amazing. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Dear listener, definitely go out there and get the book, Herbal Activities for Kids. 50 nature crafts, recipes, and garden projects. And again, you'll find 2 recipes from me and my family, a bunch of recipes from Molly, and then recipes from all over the herbal community. What a wonderful book and offering. I think you're cool, Molly. Thank you so much for joining me on the HerbRally podcast.
Thanks, Mason, so much. I really appreciate it. I think you are cool too, and love the spirit of that community that you live and breathe into our community as well.
Thank you so much. With that, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.